2023 flouts Article 221 of the Constitution to the extent that it will only, presents just expenditure estimates with no corresponding revenue estimates. Is that right? So it therefore makes it complicated, for what essentially this means. Are we talking about revenue or just the taxes here? It therefore says like this. All that we're going to look forward to as Kenyans, therefore, is what the judge is going to address about this issue. All right. First question is, what essentially is a budget? All right. Somebody will ask you, is it just the appropriation bill? And is the appropriation bill the finance bill? That's it. That's essentially what we're going to look into. And that's a very proper topic for us to look into this morning, because then as we wake up today, one thing has come into effect. That is the 16% VAT on petroleum products. Because if you are aware then, today you're buying it at 195 or 197, depending on where you are. That is for a liter of petrol, and 179 for a liter of diesel. And that also applies all the way to a liter of kerosene. But is somebody not listening to a court order that essentially stopped the implementation, or the conservatory orders then to stop the implementation of the Finance Act? And by the way, it's not just one conservatory order, it's two conservatory orders. One for Kiage, and I'll be telling you exactly what the next conservatory order is coming from. So if you essentially look at these two, then it's going to be very interesting for us to look into this particular area of essentially what defines a budget. Is it just the appropriation bill, or is it the finance bill? All right. And if that is true, what does the Budget Parliamentary Committee then capture as what Kenya's expenditure is going to be, and areas on what the revenue is going to be, and essentially what our borrowing plan is going to be? That is essentially what we're going to look at this week as the courts then start looking into this particular area. By the way, you do remember that it was declared urgent by Lookuptv, and as we start this morning, Lookuptv again has warned EPRA, that is the Energy, Petroleum and Regulatory Authority, saying that, well, if they do not then revert fuel prices in the country back to the 14th date review, which was the last time they reviewed it, and that's the time they do it, then it shall be moving to court then to present a case of contempt of court, that indeed the court has advised you not to implement the Finance Bill 2023 or the budget thereof. We're not so sure on exactly what that is, but then you move forward to implement it. Big case, and we shall be then going live to the courts this week, and we shall be camping there, so we see exactly what the courts then argue all makes sense around this particular taxes, and what the appropriation bill is, what the finance bill is, and what essentially makes a budget, right here on Lookuptv. My name is Simba Kiage. Thank you very much for making time to start your day with us right here this morning. We are online at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. I myself, I am at Kiage Simba. The hashtag is The Morning Drift. Once we come back, I'll be taking you straight to your dailies this morning. All right. Welcome back to the Morning Drift this morning. And yes, you're watching Lookuptv. In case you are just joining us, my name is Simba Kiage. Good. Let's look at the first daily that we have for you this morning, which is the Daily Nation. It's talking about how there's a youth exodus from the country, and this is the kicker. Greener pastures and employment and tough living conditions have driven many young people to the edge, and they now want out. The long winding queues at passport centers across the country, as well as the airport, are testament to this. The youth are flying out to pursue their dreams abroad, and the government is putting them on. All right, that story on pages 6 and 7, and this is what they're saying. If you look at our passport processing crisis, there is currently a backlog of at least 70,000 passports that have not been processed at the Immigration Department that can only process 700 passports a day. All right? This is a big revelation right there. And talking about the SIP increase, passports processed and issued increased by 55.9% to 426,137 and at 2022. U.S. green card official data from the U.S. State Department now shows that some 173,218 Kenyans applied for the 2021 diversity visa lottery. And foreign jobs, President William Ruto has secured over 400,000 job opportunities for Kenyans in Germany and Saudi Arabia, essentially telling them, get out, go grab those jobs. And unemployment, we are over 3.12 million Kenyans were unemployed in 2022. That's according to data by KNBS. Those are big numbers that essentially then leading the Daily Nation to look at it as a youth exodus from the country. All right, read that story on our pages 6 and 7. There's a story here on pages 4 about how Ruto has a plan now to claw into Raila's Nyanza turf. All right, talking about how President William Ruto is on an overdrive to make inroads in the Azimio leader Raila Odinga's Nyanza backyard and was set to visit the region this Saturday. Barely a week after the former premier hosted a 2-day mega event to secure his turf. That's on pages 4. Read that story into it. Now, the sad story there on pages 2, by the way, that has killed over 50 people this weekend. Now, Londiani accident. Now, traders essentially defy order to vacate roadside market, and that's after the transporteers, that is Murkomen, essentially said, well, some of those road reserves do not need markets. There was an order that was essentially sent out to vacate the roadside market, but essentially over this weekend all the way to yesterday, traders essentially continue to trade at those particular points. Good. Story 3, read into the story of the last moments of a Kenyan woman who was murdered alongside her Nigerian lover. Good. That's essentially how the Daily Nation looks this morning. And on the back page is going to read about how now Kenya has fresh minted millionaires of story of Julian Naomi, Robert Kipkemboi, and some of those essentially who participated in the Nairobi City Marathon. All right, having a good time at the Nyayo National Stadium yesterday. Now the new millionaires, essentially Robert Kipkemboi and Jubilant Naomi Chebet, were victors in that particular competition. Good. All right. Let's also cross over to the Standard this morning so we can get to see exactly what it is they're talking about here. Talking about how there are now intrigues of missing school reform report. Empty promises. Task Force on Education Reforms was to hand over its final report 3 weeks ago, but promises to make it public have not been met, raising doubts on the recommendations of the 49-member team that could have met. It's a big story. Read that story on page 4. All right. Also on the front page, the Standard is talking about how families now coming to terms with the Londiani tragedy. Read that story again on the Standard this morning. On pages 6 and 7, they're talking about how Malala now is in cabinet, a little man who's what's become law. All right. Read that story on page 7. And yes, on the back pages, they're talking about how Kipkemboi and Jebet back 7 million for marathon win. And on pages 12, there is a story about how now fuel prices in the country are becoming a headache for students and parents. And the story on how matatu operators have raised fares after the energy regulator hiked pump prices, spelling doom for parents who have to dig deeper to take students back to school. That story has been covered on page 12 of the Standard. Good. We take a tiny break. Once we come back, I'll be taking you straight to the newsroom. Tell you what it is that you're waking up to this morning in terms of your biggest stories. Good morning. Welcome back. The Nakuru government has raised a red flag over the grabbing of a public utility land by a cartel of traders working with some officers from the Department of Land in the county. The county vowed to identify and repossess the affected parcels of land and identified major towns as the most affected by the illegal trade. Let's take a look.
This came as residents of Naivasha forcefully repossessed a health center that had been grabbed by an influential trader in the town. The trader fenced the health center that was waiting to be equipped and turned it into his home in Viwandani ward.
Mtu alikuja na akafuta majina ya dispensary na akafanya kwamba hapa ni kwake nyumbani. So ile jambo lilotushtua ni kwamba hii mjengo ambayo iko hapa nyuma ilijengwa na County Government of Nakuru, ambapo ni pesa ya wananchi ambao ilijenga hapa shilingi milioni 3. So mtu mmoja akichukua sema ni kwake, hiyo inatuhuzunisha sana na tumesema haitawezekana.
During the incident, the hungry residents stated that they have been traveling long distances for years to search for health services, yet they have a health center in their ward.
Na wakati yenye tulisikia hii hospitali imejengwa, tulifurahia sana kama mimi mama. Kwa sababu mtoto akigojeka, unajua sisi wa mama ndio tunakimbiaga. Sasa imekuwa tukikimbia venye tuliambiwa hosi inajengwa, tulifurahia sana wa mama na tukajifunga mareso, tukajua tumeshinda. Wakati yenye hospitali ilijengwa, kulikuja mtu anakuja anasema ni kwake na anaanza kuchukua. Sasa tukauliza mbona hakutokea hiyo wakati yenye hii hospitali ilikuwa inajengwa.
The residents are now calling out the county government of Nakuru to equip the hospitals so that it can be of help to them.
So ile jambo ningeomba ni kwamba gavana wetu wa Nakuru Susan Kiage, ambaye pia ni moja na anapigana na unyakuzi wa shamba za umma, aingilie kati, akuje atuletee daktari hapa na madawa, watu waanze kutibiwa mahali hapa.
Kuna hii serikali mpya, tunataka kuwaambia wahakikishe wametuletea madawa juu hii hospitali imegrabiwa na mtu. Kwa hivyo tunadai serikali ya county ituletee madaktari hapa.
Sasa ningeomba ili serikali ingililie ili turudisiwe hospitali. Ombi langu ningeomba hivyo kwa sababu sisi wa mama ndio tunaumia. Bedhe kutoka Kanjo kwenda Baka district ni mbali. Kwa hivyo tukiwa na hospitali hapa karibu tunaweza furahia.
Speaking via phone, the CEC for Land John Kiage said that they had launched an exercise of landmarking all public land in the county. Stella Kilonzo, Lookuptv.
Now, amid the worsening attrition rates in Nyanza, Internal Security Principal Secretary Dr. Raymond Omolo has gone all out to improve education standards in the region as a strategic way of giving back to the society. The PS has been holding a series of meetings with stakeholders to strategize on how to catapult the region back to the top of the country's academic charts. Let's take a look at that story.
Geoffrey Mheshimiwa from Uyugis, 10,000. Balozi Lavenda Ojala, 35,000. Like your own. And I'm happy, Mr. Principal, that you have been able to register very good results over the last couple of years. And as an alumni and also as an officer working in the administration of President Ruto, we will support you to ensure that we maintain not just the grades, the A's that I've seen, but increase the numbers. We had 23 in the previous year who've got direct admission into medical school. We want that number to go to 50 plus. Because as that happens,
one thing is that if you want to know a good school, it is not the final score that you see in the year that has just passed. It is the consistency of the results school. So my colleague teachers, once again, congratulations for the good work. Let's maintain that spirit. But I would want to urge you on one thing. Be good mentors to your neighbors and colleagues, so that more schools, more of your own colleagues will come here to be supported, so that their schools and their children and their students can also benefit from this particular wealth of knowledge that you have accumulated over a long time.
Now, with about 10 months since President William Ruto, together with the Kenya Kwanza government, officially took their oath of office, today we were in the streets of Nairobi to get Kenyans' opinions on whether the government has delivered on their promises or not. This coming on the back of the implementation of the Finance Bill 2023 that has got a lot of Kenyans talking. Let's take a look at that story.
Kenya Kwanza kulingana na minister yake hawangojakamilisha. Wananchi wanahitaji wahudumiwe kamili kulingana na vile walijitoa na vile walisema. So hawakukamilisha, maana walisema ni bottom up, lakini tukiangalia kama sisi wananchi tunaona ni kama kutoka up mpaka chini. Kwa hivyo mwananchi wa kawaida automatically anaumia na anateseka. So we need to be secured. Yeah. Tangu wachukue uongozi wamekuwa wakitoa mashauri yenye sio haki. Wanasema watafanya na wafanyi. Kwa mfano walisema unga itateremka, hakuteremsha unga ikaendelea na kukwea juu. So kulingana na hivyo tunaona kama wananchi ni kama mchezo wafanya na afaka.
Siwezi sema nimeona mabadiliko. Tumezidi, yani kuongezwa, vitu zimepanda juu sana. Aliongea about vitu mingi za kutolewa wananchi. Sasa hiyo ukikuja kama kazi mtaani ilitolewa, vitu zingine unaona. Kuna yani yeye amekos. Kuna vitu zilikuwa zinasaidia watu zenye wametoa. Huwezi judge mtu haraka hivyo. Mwanzo ameingia. Ndio Kenya tumekuwa na deni kubwa, kila mwananchi anajua. Wao ukifuatilia story online ama nini, inasemekana kuna venye analipa hizo deni. So sisi hatuwezi jua, labda kuna venye imefichwa, lakini hatuwezi jua. Lakini kama ni analipa na sisi tunaona anatunyanyasa, hiyo bado itakuwa ni vizuri. Juu ikifika labda 2 years hivi tukianza kuona mabadiliko kwa labda atakuwa amemaliza deni, but si watumie hiyo chance waanze kusema tena, yani watumie hiyo chance kurudisha pesa zao, cause kila mtu anajua walitumia pesa mingi na hakuna mwanadamu ama mwananchi mwenye anaweza taka hasara.
Kwa maoni yangu serikali ya Kenya Kwanza naona inajaribu kadri ya tuna tukiangalia serikali iliyopita waliacha deni kubwa sana. Sasa hatufai kucomplain mapema, bado ni mapema. Sasa tuwapatie tu wakati, natumai kuwa watafanya vizuri na ili tuepuke hii uchumi ikuwe sawa sawa.
Ndio rais wetu alikuwa ametuahidi maneno makubwa. Anasema kama hali ya maisha, uchumi itarudi chini, but sasa hizi ndio tunaona uchumi inaendelea kupanda, juu mafuta imepanda. Chakula pia sasa hii lazima utoke ndio hustle. Hata ukipata pesa kidogo, hiyo pesa unapata itufanyi kazi. Sasa serikali kama kwa sisi kama Wakenya tunalia, watu angalie kama upande wa chakula uchumi irudi chini. Hakuna tujuvio tuliowachagua ni hivyo tu, waliacha tunaendelea tu hivyo tu. Uchumi ni hivyo tu, kama hali ya maisha chakula iko tu hivyo tu.
Naona hakuna kitu wanasaidia for real. Wanasaidia tu watu wenye wako karibu nao peke yao. Azini wanaangalia kitu utabaka. Nothing else wana compare. Watu wa standard low standard, nothing else. Kuna kitu wanasaidia. Hao wanajisaidia tu kwa juu wenyewe. Sasa walisema watapewa vijana kazi. Kazi gani wanawapea vijana? Wapi wanapewa vijana wapi kazi? Hapa kuna kazi vijana wanapata, lazima wahasu mwenyewe ndio pata pesa. Nothing else.
Residents of Nakuru are set to benefit from the construction of the Itare Dam in Kuresoi North constituency, which was stopped due to allegations of misappropriation of funds in 2019. Speaking in Nakuru during a church service, President William Ruto indicated that work will resume to ensure the facility is completed so as to serve Nakuru and the vast Rift Valley region.
Speaking after attending a church service in Molo, Nakuru County, President William Ruto put on notice cattle rustlers in the country, insisting that his administration will quash them the same way the flaring guns in the North Rift region were silenced.
Mimi nataka niwahakikishie tutahakikisha ya kwamba kuna amani kila sehemu ya Kenya. Hata wale watu wajeuri walikuwa wanaiba ng'ombe kule sijui Elgeyo Marakwet, West Pokot, sijui wapi. Hawa watu tumewakomesha. Wale wanajaribu kuiba ng'ombe kidogo kidogo hapa kwenu, hawa nitawazamisha. Hakuna mtu ataiba ng'ombe, kila mtu achunga ng'ombe yake. Awachane na ng'ombe ya mtu mwingine.
As the education sector grapples with shortage of teachers, Ruto hinted at his government hiring more teachers and setting aside funds to facilitate students across various universities and vocational training colleges.
Tumeajiri walimu 35,000 mwaka huu. Hakuna serikali ingine imeajiri walimu wengi kwa wakati mmoja. Pesa na tena mwaka huu kabla ya mwezi wa 8-9 tutaajiri walimu wengine 25,000. Sasa tumeongeza pesa kwa budget hii kutoka bilioni 44 mpaka bilioni 82 ambayo itaenda kwa university zetu, kwa sababu tunataka watoto wetu wote wasome.
As the Finance Act gathers pace, Ruto has insisted on the importance of the housing program, signaling the construction of 5,000 affordable houses in Kasarani Molo constituency.
Tumekubaliana hatua yetu ya kwanza ni kuja kujenga nyumba 5,000 hapa Molo, na tutaanza na nyumba za wale watu wanaishi pale Kasarani. Nyinyi mnanielewa? Na mimi narudi hapa mwenyewe kuja kuzianzisha, kwa sababu mimi niliwaahidi wale watu wa pale Kasarani wanaishi kwa slum. Kazi yetu ni kuwaondoa watoke pale waingie kwa nyumba yenye iko na maji, yenye iko na stima, yenye iko na sewage, yenye tutaweka hospitali, na tutahakikisha watoto wao wanasoma kama watoto wa taifa letu la Kenya wengine.
In a bid to lower the cost of food, President William Ruto continues to advocate for subsidized production while assuring farmers of more fertilizer in coming days.
Njia ya kupunguza gharama ya maisha ni kupunguza gharama ya chakula. Njia ya kupunguza gharama ya chakula ni kusaidia wakulima wazalishe chakula zaidi. Na ile mazao tunatoa ya chakula, we can double our production. Tunaweza kuongeza mazao yetu maradufu tukitumia mbegu ya sawa ambaye tumepanga mwaka huu mtapata, na vile vile tutahakikisha kwamba mko na mbolea.
Ian Keitani, Lookuptv.
Now, Kenya's opposition has warned of a major public revolt targeting the government with regard to the enacting into law of the controversial Finance Bill 2023-2024. According to Siaya Governor James Orengo and Radieda Member of Parliament Otiende Amolo, the two said that they have a date with the government on Friday, that is a Saba Day, and in courts on Tuesday.
In Parliament, I spoke and I told my colleagues in Parliament that they need to be reasonable, that they need to be focused, that they need to reject the finance bill. They did not listen because they have a false majority of people who have been voted. But I told them that even if they pass that bill, which is now an act, there are two more hurdles. The next stage will be the courts. And even after that, there's still the ultimate stage, which is the people. Because the courts, Parliament, the executive derive their authority from the people under Article 1. It is the people who are sovereign. So now, they passed it, but we're on stage 2. I'm already leading a team of lawyers in court, and we are in court even on Tuesday. We already got temporary orders. We want to confirm them. Because if the law must take its course, then that finance bill must fall, and the prices of everything must fall. And
tunataka tuwe na serikali ambayo ina msimamo ya kutetea haki za
na kuleta maendeleo, lakini muhimu kuona ya kwamba maisha kwa mwananchi isiwe maisha ngumu. Kodi ziwe kodi ambao ni katika kiwango ambao hata hadi ambapo wananchi wanaweza kulipa kodi na pia kubaki.
Let's move on. Nakuru Governor Susan Kiage has condoled with the Kenyans who were involved in a grisly road accident at Londiani Junction, as she called on families within her county who might have been affected by the tragic accident to reach out to her office to ensure the hospital bills are fully catered for by the county government. The accident has so far claimed over 50 lives, leaving several others hospitalized.
Kwanza niseme pole sana for any family members wenye walikuwa kwa ile ajali yenye ilipatikana pale Londiani Junction. Najua watu wengi sana wetu kutoka Kamara, kutoka upande wa Molo pia, some of them were caught up in that. So for those families, na kama tulisema waletwe kwa hospitali yetu, nyinyi kama watu wa Molo, thank you very much, because we have been able kutumia hospitali ya Molo plus PGH. Nakuru I think tulikuwa na about 12. Na kama kuna familia ya Nakuru County yenye ilikuwa kwa hiyo ajali, na ningetaka ofisi yangu ijue so that tugaramie all the expenses.
Look at the numbers of the road fatalities that we've had since March this year. We are riding on a bad trajectory. Talking about 794 plus now out of all the accidents that we've witnessed in the country this year. And those are the ones that have been reported and documented. So when you give it a particular question, then you're going to find maybe we are up that number. It's a proper question that we need to ask ourselves, even as we're reporting this morning, that even after the Transport Ministry essentially issued orders to have those reserves, right, vacated, or the traders essentially vacate those areas, yesterday and throughout today, this morning, the traders are still at that particular point with businesses going on as usual. Something essentially needs to be done. But away from that, let's look at exactly where we are in the country in terms of the state of politics in the country. Let's talk about the Azimio plans then to stop the government from further implementing the Finance Bill 2023, which has essentially been signed into law. And as we start this morning, it's already effective. How much have you paid for your fare to work this morning? We do know already parents are complaining about the high cost of fares as they take their kids back to school from the holidays. Are you one of those victims from the halftime break? Sorry, are you one of those victims? Talk to us right here at Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. This morning, I do have the two Erics. That is Eric Rogalo and Eric Mungai. You're going to join us this morning so we can get to look at exactly where we are as a country in terms of the state of the nation. Good morning. I'll be seeing you shortly on the other side of the studio after this short break.
Infinity Industrial Park is one of the largest private industrial parks located along Eastern Bypass, Nairobi, which provides modern infrastructure for smooth operations for industries and business enterprises. Infinity Industrial Park offers world-class amenities and facilities with wide roads, a police station, a power substation, fire station, public transport stage, hospital, and shopping mall. In addition, Infinity Industrial Park also offers CCTV cameras, 24-hour private armed security patrol, sewer, water, fiber optic cable, and 3-phase power connection. Added to public utility, canteen, and dining areas. Sail on the golden opportunity to invest in Infinity Industrial Park, fully serviced warehouses at a special price of 3,569 Kenyan shillings per square foot. For more inquiries, visit our website infinityindustrialpark.com.
KM Lookup Media, the holding company for Muthingi and Lookuptv, proudly presents the Mount Kenya Region Roadshow. It's time to mark your calendars because from the 4th to the 8th of July, we are bringing the excitement to Kiambu, Murang'a, Kirinyaga, Embu, Meru, Laikipia, Nyeri, Nyandarua, and Nakuru counties. Are you ready to be a part of an electrifying TV roadshow? Join us as we embark on a thrilling journey through the magnificent Mount Kenya region. Lookuptv and Muthingi TV are hitting the road. We are coming straight to your towns. But that's not all. We are not just bringing you TV. We are bringing you an unforgettable experience. Enjoy your favorite comedians like Njoro wa Ukulima ni Mali, Marafiki, among others, live performances, and get a chance to meet your favorite TV personalities right in your own town. To our sponsors and partners, book your slot for the greatest brand experience and conversions. To book this fast-moving opportunity, call 0110-430-158 or email sales@lookuptv.co.ke. Get ready to be swept off your feet as we bring the magic of television to your doorstep. Let the TV adventure begin.
Mtazamaji, niko kwenye mtaa wa mabanda wa hapa Mukuru Slums, na siku ya leo tunazungumza na wanaojihusisha na zahanati inayojulikana kama Olive Link.
Welcome to Olive Link.
Asante sana.
Karibu.
Watatueleza mengi na jinsi ambavyo wanasaidia jamii.
This is one of the services that we offer to our mothers when they come for delivery services to deliver their babies. This is a very crucial room. This is where all the work goes on.
Jina langu ni Wamba Wahisi na haya ni makala ya Hapa Kazi.
Hapa kazi, hapa kazi, hapa kazi.
On this particular episode, we are joined by one Alfred Mado.
I currently serve both the Old Mutual and the Absa Life. I consult for the True and I do business with them, and they have taken me as a lead consultant.
What is your definition of a successful business?
A successful business is a business that lives beyond time. If you're making 100,000 shillings, assuming that is a net income, that is after tax, 22% of that net income should go into savings and investment.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
As the night falls, we come to life to bring you a comprehensive broadcast from the numerous events happening across our 47 counties.
When it breaks, it matters, and each story is important.
If it's Thursday, join me, Nancy Lelima, and my able panelists as we break down the law jargons and analyze the Constitution in a way only you can understand.
The news cycle never stops, neither does time. We cover each and every sector and present to you factual and accurate occurrences. This is where facts win the day. Join me,
Nancy Lelima,
Ian Keitani, Tuesday, every Wednesday,
Thursday,
as from 9 p.m. on The Insight, only on Lookuptv.
right, welcome back to the Morning Drift. In case you're just joining us, this is Lookuptv. We are online on Lookuptv across all your social media platforms. By the way, engage us like you normally do every morning at this particular hour, and we're gonna keep on reading your comments and sentiments as we go through our conversation this morning. At this time, let me take my time to introduce the two Erics who are joining us in the house. So we do have Mr. Mungai with us. How are you doing, sir?
Very well.
Yes.
It's always a pleasure.
It's always a pleasure to have
and
you
it's
around.
good to see you in one piece.
Oh yeah.
It's been a sad weekend. We have lost a lot of people in Londiani. The country is really mourning, and I take this time to commiserate with the families who. It's not an easy thing when your loved one goes to work, and then in the evening you don't have them coming back home. And therefore, I want to take this opportunity to commiserate with the loved ones the people who've lost their loved ones per se.
Pretty much. We're going to touch on that particular issue when we open our discussion this morning shortly. We do also have Mr. Ragallo this morning. How are you doing, sir?
And you, how are you doing?
Fantastic. You missed out last Monday.
Yeah. I got held up.
Yes.
And I hope Mr. Eric
represented properly.
Talked nicely. Yeah. Not,
there were no checks and balances.
They were not balanced. It was one-sided. There was no balancing. Anyway, we have quite a number of issues. We have school kids going back to schools. Let me not call them kids, but pupils and students going back to schools. At the same time, we have prices of petrol that would affect transportation today. That's another issue we should check on and see how our country is going to manage that. We also have our roads. And as Eric was saying, we feel sorry for the loved ones who have lost their people. The dead feels nothing.
Yes.
They've already gone. No pain. But the people who are left have so much balancing. Someone has lost the breadwinner. Someone has lost the school fee payer. Can you imagine? Someone will not go to school because no one is there to pay for them their fee. Someone has lost someone who has been taking care of someone elsewhere. You know, we are a social community where if your grandmother is sick, you also become sick in the pocket because you have to chip in. So if one person is gone, you can look at the joint ends that have loosened. So somewhat that whole area, that community has lost so much economically, has lost so much socially. And there's nothing I can say much. It's painful, it's painful. What else can I say? We need to learn from what happened in Sachangwan. It's high time the Minister of Interior and the Minister for Education, because education goes into civic education. I'm not saying education people go to class.
No, sir.
And the Minister for roads, construction, and public works, and the president to come and sit down and see how they can manage that place. When you open the session, we will quote for Kenyans some of the junctions we feel should be made better. We know some of them, and we would ask Kenyans, as we want to discuss this, they should also add us through your website. They should add us other junctions. Then through Lookuptv, we could send a petition to the ministries of what we think, because that's the function also of the media. If they find something, they can write. So if they want to read, fine. If they want to keep it in the dustbin, fine. But at the end of the day, as a social Kenyan, you've done your job. So we are going to give ourselves some of the areas that we feel should be made. I'll give you an example. When you go to Makueni, Wote Hills, there are no barriers on Wote Hills. Some of them are very scaring. If anyone who has gone to Wote knows what I'm talking about, as you move from Machakos going to Wote, if you miss a corner, my friend, you will die mid-air before you reach down. Some of these things we should communicate and see how it will work for Kenya. We should not be losing people this much. 70 and above 80, even one person is a lot. So 80 is what? If one person is a lot, so 80. That's what I'm saying, the loose ends. Kenya has lost economically anyway because of those few people.
Does it?
Yes.
Pretty much. That's exactly what I want to start this morning, Mr. Mungai. If you look at when a government comes into place, and essentially when you're a new government, and in this particular instance, I want to look at the Ministry of Roads and Public Works docket, where one Kipchumba Murkomen is now heading. And we're telling you that since March, we've lost 794 people in the country. Mungai.
Since March?
Yeah.
No, wait, March?
Since March last year.
March last
Since
year.
March last year.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I thought
lost 794, all right? And that number is rising by the day. We're talking about an average of 4,000 plus in the country. And that figure has not changed, essentially. Don't you think that now maybe we should be getting proper statements from that particular ministry, or saying, well, we haven't seen anything change since you came into the office?
Thank you, Simba. So a bit of background into the transport docket.
Yes.
The only cabinet secretary or minister who was really pro people in the transport docket historically was Mishuki. And you remember very well he came up with the Mishuki rules. Now, from Mishuki coming all the way towards the year 2023, the year of our Lord, we have seen cabinet secretaries. In fact, you remember the former cabinet secretary, Macharia, was taunted on social media as the cabinet secretary for what do you call these expressway and airports.
Yes.
And what happens is that the transport docket over and above the Ministry of Education has the highest, so there are three ministries that gobble up pretty much of the budget.
Yes.
There is education, there is health, and there is transport. And therefore, most of the huge infrastructure projects are held up in the transport ministry. Now, most of those have nothing to do with, say, the common mwananchi. Because when you talk about the airport expansion, when you talk about the SGR, this pretty much, yes, they affect the common mwananchi in one way or another, but not really directly.
Yes.
And so the last minister that we saw who was pro people in terms of their safety was the late cabinet secretary John Mishuki. From then on, we've had a revival of the NTSA. You remember there is a time NTSA was always on our roads. And then there was hue and cry because the more they were deployed to the roads, the more motorists cried because they were considered to be asking a lot of bribes. And I remember the former president telling them that their work is safety. They should leave the traffic police
to do their job.
Yes. And therefore NTSA was called back to go back to the offices. Now, if you look at the statistics of accidents in this country, you realize that most of the deaths are mostly from pedestrians. If you look at a majority of deaths that occur as a result of accidents are actually pedestrians. If you look at what happened to Londiani, it's really, you know, these were people going about their normal businesses.
Yes.
And sometimes I find it to be a bit sad because even creating walkways in Kenya, World Bank has had to intervene and say that, look, before we give you major funding on roads, you guys must consider in pedestrians and cyclists. And so we are seeing international organizations putting pressure on us to do the right thing. Because most of the time,
the right thing, the normal thing.
The normal thing, yes.
You don't even need to be told.
But we have to be pressured. That tells you the priority of the policy makers. People do not respect you when you walk. And that is why you see in this country.
I want to give him an example as he continues.
Yes, yes.
Let's not go far. Just go where Lookuptv is. Yeah. Just go outside here. This road goes from Kawangware to?
Yeah, it's Gatanga Road.
Gatanga Road.
Yes.
Just go at the junction here. What is happening? Where are people walking?
They walk on
Why
the
do
road.
we have a jam there?
It's actually on the road because there are no walkways.
Why? Why don't we have? And we are sure people are walking to work.
To work, yeah.
Why are we not in walkway? Why do we have accidents along Rusinga here? Because people are walking on the road.
In the middle of the road, yeah.
People are cycling on the road.
And you see, and we already know, the
we
most
know,
unfortunate thing
know.
is that if you go to Uhuru Park at around between 6 to 9 a.m. and you go there between 12 to 2 and then you go there between 5 to 7, there is usually a mass exodus depending on the traffic.
Yes.
Either from Upper Hill to town.
That's it.
Or from town to Upper Hill.
True.
If you go to Riverside Drive, there is always an exodus in the morning and in the evening of people moving from either Kawangware to town or vice versa. Now, if we already know as a even without doing research, sometimes we imagine we have to do, we have to call a big
cabinet
committee
and then commission.
Just observation, even without being a government actor, you can observe that we have a lot of human and foot traffic on XYZ between these and these times. What is so difficult in terms of implementing a policy to have walkways designed for those, because we actually know where people, just like he's given an example of this road here. So we do not respect pedestrians as a government. For a long time, there is no respect for people who walk on foot. And it gets to a point where every Kenyan wants to be rich, to run away, to be respected, to own a vehicle. That's why you see there is a lot of proliferation of vehicles on the road, because instead of government wanting to improve welfare for everyone, and because government only acts, you know for sure if you have a car, there will be a road. Kera will do this road, Kenha will do this road, Kura will do this road. So you are better off with a vehicle, because then you reduce the probability of dying on the road as a pedestrian if you own a vehicle. And that's why you see no matter how many roads we build, we'll always have traffic jams, because we do not consider alternatives for people whom we do not consider successful. Like for instance, that junction of Londiani, it does not take nuclear science. You don't have to have a PhD to know that it was a waiting disaster. And not even just Londiani. Yes. There are many other junctions that are waiting disaster.
And by the way, they knew. It was already a hot spot. They knew that very well.
Apart from putting a sign, like how many people did it take to die on the Ntulele black spot? For them just to put up a sign with the skeleton and sometimes I think we do not respect human life. We really have no value for human life, and I think it is time that policy makers walk the talk.
Brother,
yes.
I want to give you an example.
I'm sorry to cut you short. Let me just correct those numbers we just gave you this morning, that it is actually 974 that we've lost this year, not from March last year, from January this year. And wait for it, these numbers are up to March, 3 months, 974. So if you put together
we are killing, not they are dying. We are killing. We are killing 900 divided by 300 people
per month.
We are killing
up
because,
to January,
because accidents don't just happen. We also make them.
Yes.
So what I was trying to give you an example is, I'm on the junction so much because him is giving us a good history. We're on the junction so much. The junction to Kisumu, to Eldoret, the junction Kisumu Eldoret, this is at Mau Summit.
I know where that is.
What happened? They created a road that went on top of the Kitambo. People would meet then you enter. Meet, go this way. So we had a problem at Mau Summit for a long time. So what did they do? They raised it. So now unapanda juu, unazunguka, you join.
Does it?
And when you live nicely. So now their place, getting an accident, it may not be possible. Of course, accidents. But now, you've reduced the probabilities of having an accident. The other accident black spot is Makutano, Embu, Meru, and Nyeri. They call it Makutano Junction. Just here. Trailers are coming, garis na kutoka Nyeri zinakuja, Isiolo, Nanyuki, water, they are coming this way. And then, what we do best is reducing speeds of vehicle. Who told us that we need to put so many bumps?
On the road.
On the road.
Actually, I don't like
bumps. Bumps are not safety, first of all.
They're not.
They're not. Kwanza bumps even, sorry to use this, bumps cause accidents. You put a bump, these vehicles fly on. If you have a wrecked vehicle, the leg of the vehicle, what we call a wheel, will move out.
Wheel essentially.
So, 1. 2, some of the bumps that are put in Kenya are inhumane.
Actually legal.
Go and see the bumps in Kisumu.
Yeah.
From Kisumu to Otonglo, towards Kisian, on your way to Maseno. There are table bumps, literally table bumps. You go on top, your car balances on top, you come down, You hit that bump, the ball joint is out, the shocks are gone, springs are gone, everything is gone. So you are actually an accident there. Some bumps are inhuman. Some rambles they put, they are not rambles. A ramble should be something to waken you. Hey, there's a bump. You feel there's a, it's to alert you. It's an alert. But they don't put rambles. They put log destroyers. Have you ever done a ramble? You feel your stomach shaking.
That's it.
What are they doing?
Have you seen the ones along the Eastern Bypass?
Yeah.
You've been there.
I've been there.
So those things.
They are not rambles.
They're not rambles.
You hit ramble, you feel, I
saw somebody break their axle. Actually.
On the ramble.
Yeah, on the rambles.
Yeah, you will. So some of these are not rambles. Rambles has to wake you.
That's it.
At the time you wake up, I mean, not that you are sleeping, but you understand when I say wake up.
Just keeps you alert.
Yes. When the time you wake up, it tells you we have a bump, so slow down. It's supposed to communicate. But these things are not rambles.
But again, you are lucky if you have rambles. Because most of the times you just meet the bump.
You just meet the bump.
You meet a huge bump, you fly.
By the way, it happens.
You're lucky.
You're lucky if you made it.
So the second issue we need to talk about, do we need to sue the government? Because the government should be sued.
Yes.
Where are the markings? Where are the communication gadgets on the road? How many roads don't have markings? I'll give an example. Keroka Market.
I know what that is.
The market actually the person is selling here and the road is here.
I know. Ragalo, you don't have to go very far. That's my local market. That's my, Eric, that's my local market. And I always complain about that.
The jam is made by
the market, the traders here.
Keroka can be so busy. The jam will start I don't know where. Because now all the vehicles must slow down by the time you pass Keroka. What are we waiting for? For a trailer to come and run down all the women on the road?
And it's about to happen because you don't know exactly where the market is.
Yes, I can see.
It's in both slopes, yes?
This side.
From that side and this side.
Yes.
Yeah. So if an accident happens, all these guys in the middle are getting wiped out.
The market is down here.
Yeah.
Up here in Muteremuko.
That's it.
Up here in Muteremuko. And people are selling here.
Right here.
Let me just do it, what to own for camera. People are selling here, the road is here.
Right there.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the guy who want to buy must squeeze here and buy like this.
That's it. Half of your body is
half of the buttock is on the road.
Yeah.
Are you seeing what I'm saying? And then the piki guy need to negotiate behind this person also.
Yeah, that's what they do. That's what they do.
What are we doing? And the people are waiting. Osoro is there and other leaders, they are there. Nyamira governor, because Keroka is basically Nyamira, is there and we are waiting. People may hate Anyang' Nyong'o first term, but Anyang' Nyong'o used military way Sometimes you need to beat people. Anyang' Nyong'o came and removed people from the street. They hated him so much, they even wanted him out. He went akang'oa watu kwa mabarabara na akawaforce ndani ya soko.
Yes.
Forced them literally. Watu waingie ndani ya soko. Now Kisumu is the cleanest town in Kenya. And if you Google, Kisumu is top 10 cleanest cities in Africa. Actually number 4. Number 1 is Rwanda.
Yes.
Kisumu number 4, number 3, somewhere there in Africa. Would Anyang' Nyong'o have achieved that without being hard? Hard does not mean being militant. Matiang'i, when he was a minister for internal security, he said, you will never see an accident when I'm here. And you see Matiang'i would say it, na mnadhani ni jokes.
No, I actually remember.
Alieka watu wa kuangalia ile barabara. Ulikuwa unateremka na 50.
Yeah.
Ukimaliza tu Mau Summit unaingia pale Molo Junction. Unaanza 50. Unaanza 50. 50 mpaka umalize pale chini Salga. Ndio sasa tena uanze kupanda ukikuja Ngata. And it was like that. So, and by the time Matiang'i was doing that, he also started the construction of a dual carriageway along that road.
That's it.
So we have bumps, rumbles, then runoff way. If your car loses brake, jipange na makokoto pale juu. Kokoto itakushikilia, utasimama. So we have runoff ways as you teremuka. Do we hear of accident there? Of course you will. But have we made Kenya safe? Yes. So I am sure when I used to work with the government, we used to do yearly report to the government. And reports are written from the lowest area. So the reports back then used to start from community to dispensary. Dispensary report forms the health center report, because that's the divisional report. Health center report goes to the district report, forms the district report. Kama Kiambu district becomes Kiambu district report. Then Kiambu district report of health goes to form the provincial report. Inapelekwa Nyeri, inaform central province report. It will get indicators and what they want. The provincial report will go and make the national report. So when the budget is made, they know these are the things the health center needs. So, and even the drugs, you'll write reports on drugs. So KEMSA will always change even their orders according to the pool. And that's why you hear about pool. If you don't write a report of a certain drug, they will not bring it because you don't need it. Because every area, that's why you can never see antimalarial packets in Meru. Why? Well, for what? But you'll find antimalarials in areas of Nyanza and Mombasa, you know, where malaria is, prevalence is high. You understand? So that is how reports are done. I am asking myself, like a small student, do we have report writing in Ministry of Roads?
I normally see Kenya on the road, studying the roads. And
yes. So how do reports go? How don't we have walkways? How don't we have public works? Where are the markets for these people? Do we have to wait for watu wagongewe pale toll, Thika Road toll? You see Thika Road?
Yeah, I know where that is.
Super highway.
Yeah.
Thika toll. Wacha toll. Hapa clay works.
Yeah.
You start clay works, hapo kwa rumbles na bump, watu wanauza.
Then Kihunguro.
Then Kihunguro, watu wanauza. Kihunguro Ruiru. Then after Kihunguro Ruiru, enda toll. Toll hata ndio imejaa sasa ni soko kubwa.
Yeah, they're essentially on the road.
Watu wanauza maji. The same water is not sold in Kisumu on the roadside. And Kisumu is hotter than Ruiru here. So tell me, how comes them they drink more water? And then their perspiration, it could be very high. Maybe then their skin is even better. Then the people in Kisumu, why aren't they selling water along the road? And when you remove them, anapiga mahasura, anapiga watu wa nyoba. My friend, so when a car will come run those people, someone will start saying, it was an accident in waiting. We are telling the government, don't you see those people selling? How many ministers pass there without even indicators. Sasa wanapita wanaangalia hivi. Don't you see them? You want to tell me gari ya Kenha yenye nafanyanga road security inaanzia hapa superhighway, inaanzia hapa museum, inaenda mpaka mali superhighway inaishia Thika, then inarudi. You know that vehicle that moves for the whole 24 hours, day and night. You want to tell me they don't write report about these people?
Actually, send them incident when you think about it.
So we wait for someone to knock them dead.
As when we come back and say,
then you take that driver into court, unamwambia amefanya murder, and the murderer is the government who sees and does not act.
But you know, Ragalo,
I want us to take a tiny break because now officially now that topic, I mean, we're going to talk about it. But the bigger topic at hand today, Mr. Ragalo and Mr. Mungai, is essentially what is going on in the country. The Finance Bill 2023, the fuels have kicked in. The Act is already kicked in. It's made into law. There are a lot of talking points without essentially talking about the case. We're going to talk about the impact and exactly what is going on around this issue once we come back right here on the morning brief, because indeed there are plans from the Azimio side and there have been rumblings from within the government on exactly what this particular bill wanted to achieve in the country. Are we going to call it a budget? Are we going to call it a finance act? What really informs it? Once we come back right here on the morning brief, and who's not listening, good morning.
The future is hands-on, and Sensei College is at the front line of technical institutes in Kenya, offering practical and skill-based courses accredited by all concerned bodies, TVETA, NTSA and NITA. Sensei College offers driving and plant operator, cosmetology, fashion and design, mechanics, hydroponics and irrigation, installation, building construction, hospitality, photography and video production, electrical and electronics repairs, and ICT courses. Get free plant operator training when you enroll for plant mechanics, free driving when you enroll for motor vehicle mechanics, and free riding when you enroll for motorcycle mechanics. The requirement is an ID only, with intakes every first week of the month. We have 2 campuses in Nakuru and Nairobi. We provide meals and accommodation. Sensei College. My skills, my future.
KM Lookup Media, the holding company for Muthingi and Lookuptv, proudly presents the Mount Kenya Region Roadshow. It's time to mark your calendars, because from the 4th to the 8th of July, we are bringing the excitement to Kiambu, Murang'a, Kirinyaga, Embu, Meru, Laikipia, Nyeri, Nyandarua, and Nakuru counties. Are you ready to be a part of an electrifying TV roadshow? Join us as we embark on a thrilling journey through the magnificent Mount Kenya region. Lookuptv and Muthingi TV are hitting the road. We are coming straight to your towns. But that's not all. We are not just bringing you TV. We are bringing you an unforgettable experience. Enjoy your favorite comedians like Njoro wa Ukulima ni Mali, Marafiki, among others, live performances, and get a chance to meet your favorite TV personalities right in your own town. To our sponsors and partners, book your slot for the greatest brand experience and conversions. To book this fast-moving opportunity, call 0110-430-158 or email sales@lookuptv.co.ke. Get ready to be swept off your feet as we bring the magic of television to your doorstep. Let the TV adventure begin.
All right. Welcome back to the Morning Drift. My name is Simba Kiage. Well, let's move away from conversations and exactly what's going on wrong with our roads in the country as we wait then to see exactly what the response of the Transport Ministry is going to be. That is essentially Kipchumba Murkomen in focus this morning. Let's move into what Kenya is talking about this morning, by the way, because we woke up this morning and I started with that question: how much did you pay for fare to work this morning? Let me just get to read a couple of your sentiments this morning in terms of those ones that have come in. All right, good. All right, this is Fred who's telling me, ni kubaya, nimelipa 20 bob extra, place ya 30 nimeomba 50 bob, mtu wangu wa bike ameniomba 70 bob. That is Alfred Amolo. Thank you very much for watching this morning. Brenda, how are you doing this morning? All right, mtu wangu wa 30 bob ameniomba 50 bob na hataki kucheza. All right, thank you very much this morning. Good. All right, so that is on the back of EPRA essentially going forward then to go on with the 16% VAT introduction of petroleum products in the country, despite what the courts advised them to do last weekend. And we're going to talk about, actually this weekend, I'm going to talk about exactly what they said shortly. For now, the Azimio Coalition has essentially reacted to that, and they're saying that they have two fronts that they're essentially going to rely on. Number one, we do know that there's a planned Saba rally. We're telling you exactly what that is. And number two, the courts are talking this week on this particular issue, and that's the one that I promised that indeed we're going to be following on and reporting it to you when and how we have it. Just before I bring in the sentiments of Mr. Mungai and Ragalo right here, let's take a look at this story on essentially what majority of the ODM principals, that is the Azimio Coalition, are talking about as regards this particular Finance Bill 20. It's actually an act. It's a Finance Act now, 2023. Let's take a look.
In Parliament, I spoke and I told my colleagues in Parliament that they need to be reasonable, that they need to be focused, that they need to reject the finance bill. They did not listen because they have a false majority of people who have been voted. But I told them that even if they pass that bill, which is now an act, there are two more hurdles. The next stage will be the courts. And even after that, there's still the ultimate stage, which is the bill. Because the courts, Parliament, the executive derive their authority from the people under Article 1. It is the people who are sovereign. So now, they passed it, but we're on stage 2. I'm already leading a team of lawyers in court, and we are in court even on Tuesday. We already got temporary orders. We want to confirm them. Because if the law must take its course, then that finance bill must fall, and the prices of everything must fall. And
tulitaka tuwe na serikali ambayo ina msimamo ya kutetea haki za wananchi na kuleta maendeleo, lakini muhimu kuona ya kwamba maisha kwa mwananchi isiwe maisha ngumu. Kodi ziwe kodi ambao ni katika kiwango ambao hata hadi ambapo wananchi wanaweza kulipa kodi na pia kubaki.
That is what those major leaders within the ODM party, essentially also the key figures in the Azimio Coalition, are talking about as regards the Finance Bill, actually the Finance Act 2023. Let's not call it an act because it was already assented. Good. But that's not the conversation, because again, if you did then watch our interviews right here on Lookuptv on Saturday throughout our bulletins, we were focusing on what it means after the courts directed or gave conservatory orders not to implement the Finance Bill 2023. And remember, right now I'm calling it a bill. Good. But the conversation away from the courts, and we're waiting to see exactly what the courts are going to do this week, is why that reaction? Mr. Mungai, let me start with you this morning, that indeed we did expect the courts were going to make a ruling on this particular one, and the president rushed into assenting it into an act. Good, it became an act. But a couple days later, 2 days, actually, was it 4 days later, on Saturday, the courts made their stand on it. We are given conservatory orders, and not just one, by the way. There are two now that essentially stop the government from enact or implementing the Finance Act 2023. Just put it on hold, let the cases be heard and determined, then after that you move forward. That reaction from President William Ruto, was it move very fast, start immediately as you can, so that even when the courts then would come and make a pronouncement, would have already gained something out of it?
Thank you, Simba. First, the members, like we discussed last time while you were here, the members of parliament did their job. The bill, as I told you earlier, we had the numbers, so it was not it was not happenstance.
It was not.
So the members, and when I say we, I mean Kenya Kwanza, in terms of, because I'm a member of the UDA party. And therefore, when the members of parliament did their job, the only thing that remained was the president to assent to the bill for it to become law. And he actually did that. The speed notwithstanding, or the urgency to sign notwithstanding, but he has a legal requirement to assent to the bill so that it becomes an act.
It doesn't have to. It doesn't have to.
Which he did.
It doesn't have to.
No, which he did.
Yes.
Now, when he assented to the bill, which is essentially now an act, Okia Omutata and a gentleman called Peter Othiambo went to court, to the High Court. And Justice Dande gave conservatory orders on the 30th of last month, typically the end of last month. And I am equally in shock because EPRA, you know, I say this as much as I'm a strong supporter of the bill or of the act. You know, when Justice Dande issued conservatory orders, I expected even EPRA to hold back. But I don't know why EPRA were in a hurry to implement the increase in VAT and yet also ignore part of the reduction of the other levies that were in place. But that's another discussion. Now, there are two parts to this. And one is to say that Senator Okia Omutata, we must give it to him. In terms of jurisprudence, the man has done much more than many lawyers will ever be able to achieve in this country, including some of the so-called senior counsels. And we must give it to the man. And in 2018, this is not the first time that he's gone to court over a Finance Act.
Actually, in 2018 he did.
So in 2018, he went and got, again, conservatory orders against the Finance Act of 2018. And this was based on the fact that Treasury was relying on a 1959 Act that said that you can, I think it was called Provisional of Duties Act or something of 1959. And the act stipulated that even without the president assenting to the bill to become an act, essentially Treasury could go ahead and levy taxes. So Okia Omutata went to court and said that was against the Constitution, because what would happen is that KRA, then the Treasury would issue gazette notices so that they have an effect on the tax implications before the act kicks in. So he not only got conservatory orders, but a ruling was made not against him but for him. So he got whatever he was looking for, and therefore that part of that act was considered unconstitutional.
Yes, and later completely repealed.
And later, yes, completely repealed.
Yes.
Now this time he has gone to court against this Finance Act of 2023. And essentially, he raises some salient points because it is important for your audience to understand why exactly is Okia in court. One, he argues that the bill has no revenue estimates. It's only expenditure.
Yes.
And secondly, he argues that it is so in essence, you know, like when you're doing a profit and loss,
yes,
you expect there's an income area and there's an expenditure area.
That's it.
But you realize that there are two bills that were centered to. There is the appropriation bill and there is the Finance Act.
Yes.
And therefore the question that he's raising is what forms part of budget? Because on one hand, the Appropriation Act contains both. That is the revenue and the expenditure. But the Act only has one,
yes,
which is the expenditure without the revenue. So the question is, when you talk about a budget, which of the two constitutes
a budget?
A budget.
That's it.
So that is for the court, and it's interesting to see what the court will interpret,
yes,
in terms of both. It's actually a good thing because, you know, as we grow our democracy, we need to go and define certain aspects of what exactly this provision of the law means vis-a-vis this other provision of the law. Then secondly, he says that, he raises the question, if you say, like, this budget intends to raise 311 billion. So he says, as part of the budget estimates, it needs to be broken down and say, so for 8%,
yes,
how much are you going to raise when you increase VAT by 8%?
That's it.
When you have turnover tax, how much do you intend to raise
from this
particular tax?
Yes.
So now it is up to the court to, the court instructed that all parties be served, so that then there is a conversation now. The court finally will decide on which direction to be taken. But I would say it's a good thing that he's in court for interpretation of those particular clauses.
Yes.
But if I were an ordinary Kenyan, I'd brace myself regardless.
You brace yourself regardless. Good. But just, Brakalo, we're gonna come back to that and see exactly then what are the politics around the Finance Act now. Brakalo, there's something that Mr. Mugai avoided to answer me for the sake of this conversation. And I want us to start it like this. It's not complex. Ragallo, just give me my time so that I put the plain facts together, because I know he's going to react. We have a president who's telling us that I'm going to follow law to the letter. That I'm not somebody, and he keeps on saying, Mimi si wazimu. And he's been quoted separately saying, Mimi si wazimu. That I'm going to follow law. I know exactly what I'm supposed to do. Okiya Mtata told him very well, I'm going to rush to court. And yes, he did. He was quite aware that there were cases waiting in court, all right? And he knew very well that in one way or another, the courts were going to make a pronouncement on these cases. But we saw what happened immediately after that parliamentary process was done. He did sign it. He has signed it into law. But then, that's not even it. Setting the precedents for EPRA also to come in and even further confuse Kenyans on exactly what it is. I'll tell you this morning what it is. If you look at exactly what they've done, they jumped into and implemented that, because it was supposed to be essentially active immediately as of July 1st, isn't it? Ragalo, look here. They came in, adjusted the 16% VAT on petroleum products in the country, but we do not know why they decided not to. Went ahead and did not factor in the reduction in railway levy, all right, and import declaration fee, all right, which were essentially reduced in the Finance Act 2023. And yes, I can now call it in the Finance Act 2023. First question that Mr. Mugai didn't answer. He didn't have to. We know how the law process goes. If he knew very well that indeed there were cases in court, he would have said, well, let the courts do their process. If the courts take more than 2 weeks to respond, then it immediately becomes law. We do know how it goes. He didn't have to sign it. It just needs to sit on his table for 2 weeks so that it becomes law. All right? And if indeed is a president who's saying, well, I'm going to follow law, why haven't we seen EPRA respond? Is it setting precedents for the misbehavior or thereof for EPRA?
Yeah, thank you. I'm waiting to see whether the courts rule for the government, but the courts must make sure our money is returned. Shell, Total, Oil if it's still there, National Oil, all these oil companies in Kenya
Yes.
are robbing Kenya as of 30th midnight. There was conservatory orders that were given by the courts. What is conservatory? Ngojeni, don't move, wait there. Nakuja, naingia kwa duka, nakuja, ngojea hapo. You remember when you were kids, your parent will tell you, kaa hapa.
Kaa hapa.
Na hata usisalimie mtu, usiongeleshe mtu.
Nakuja.
Nakuja. Na usitoke hapa. You know you'll stand like that until your mama comes back.
And if you moved
it is war.
It's war.
Yes,
It's
it was
war.
not caning, it
and
was
the
war.
consequences were known, isn't it?
Were known. So you will not move. Na hata usicheze, so you will stand the way you are left. That is conservatory orders.
Yes.
Jesus said, I'm talking to President because he's as spiritual as I am today, that it is easier, it is easier for a child to communicate with God when he said, leave the children, come to me, because these are pure. Because if you tell a kid don't, they will not. And you are told, be as meek as a child to see the gates of heaven. Just be as meek as a child. Meaning, even when the court says something, respect it. Bwana Ruto tells us he's a man of the Bible. Him and God, they speak. And he follows God to the latter. Him and Gachagua, the truthful man. The question is, if you follow the Bible, the Lord God said, give Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and God what belongs to God. If the law of the land tells you stop, it is the Caesar who has said, why don't you follow the Caesar? EPRA, they are still stealing from people today, because if they gave the directions that you can go ahead, what will the court say? And I wish this can be tagged to court, that in the 2 weeks that you are listening to this, we want your inventories. You collected this much, return it to the government. So that these petrol stations, the money that they are collecting from people, which is illegal, comes back.
Yes.
Then slap them with what? They have to pay back. They have to pay back. Secondly, they have not done a mistake on those levies, the railway and what have you. They have not. Because to that, they have stopped. It's conservatory. To that, they have not done any mistake. It's still conservatory until the ruling goes. So what works for the government, they run for it. What doesn't work for them, they stop it.
You like to think it's not a mistake?
It is not a mistake, because if they stop taking the levies, they will lose money.
That's it.
So for now, they are in money making, so they are still making money, both sides. Wacha tuendele na kutax reli,
that's it.
And wacha tuendele kuchukua hii pesa ya hawa,
yes.
We make more money to run the government. So that's why I'm saying they are stealing.
Is it in discipline from their end? Because if you're going to say that you're going to implement
it
fully.
That's why I talked about a small child.
Yes.
That's what I meant. Meek. Listen, small child does not ask, Mom, nitasimama hivi. They stand waiting for you. Umemwambia simama, I'll be back.
And they didn't bother to explain Ragalo, because
the other thing is,
yes.
Do you realize when the bill left to Parliament, going to the President for ascension, do you know there were 3 or 4 clauses that were added? There were 13. They actually became 17. So he ascended to what was not discussed in Parliament, some of them. Yes. So, what did he ascend to?
Yes.
And how is it going to be implemented? An MP can go to Parliament and petition Parliament. We want to reread it again. What are these? Where did they come from? How are they ascended to? We never discussed them in any stage in parliamentary formation of laws and acts.
did he have to sign it? If he's saying that he's a man who follows the process and he thinks that all Kenyans should have a say in this document, he didn't have to sign it. Ragalo, he didn't have to sign it.
He had to,
he doesn't have
because
to sign it.
he had to. He's not done any mistake because it's work from Parliament. Sign it. So he's doing his job.
He didn't have to.
But the question is, who added the other clauses? My brother here is in that government. He's in UDA. What happened? Where did they come from? He should tell me and tell the audience, where did it come from? Then, of course, now it has come back to us. Why are petrol prices 195.53? Why are they at 180 until we listen to court and what court will say? Where are you taking, what is the rush of hurting Kenyans? What is the rush? And why are you stealing from Kenyans? They are truthful men. That's why I said they are deputy Jesuses. If you're deputy Jesus, you should be very meek, humble, and follow God. But why are you still stealing from them? Did you lose the Bible? You read to us Isaiah 10, 1-4. We know it very well. Isaiah 10, 1-4. Oh, unto you who makes laws and regulations and what that hurts the people. Because when the time of reckoning comes, where will you hide your head? Those things are done now. The court has told you stop. You're continuing to hurt them. Isaiah 10, 1-4. It is you, Mr. Ruto, who read it to Kenyans. And this will drum it to you until it enters Oblongata.
Yes. Is that, just before I come back to you on that, because there's also another development around this area. Mr. Mungai, you sort of...
No question, yes. Mr. Mungai, where did those four come from?
Maybe the first one, and
yes.
The second one is, I mean, if your president is saying, well, there's a man who knows exactly what's going on in the country, he's going to follow the due process, and he wants any other person to participate in it, he didn't have to sign it. He didn't have to sign it, or it would have already issued another order asking EPRA to hold on. That's what is expected. But then again, Mr. Mungai, don't you read mischief in EPRA in just saying, well, we're going to implement the 60% VAT, but the other levies that were reduced in that particular price review, which your president, our president, by the way, has been talking about, have been essentially put on hold.
Where did the phone come from? Don't run away from that.
Don't run away from it.
Don't run from that.
You know, the king does not hold the sword in vain. And we are quoting the Bible now. Even in the meekness, you remember when Jesus found people selling in the temple, despite that Jesus was the Son of God, he did work on a few people here and there. So meekness does not necessarily mean the inability to do that which you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it. That's one. Secondly, I would never have imagined in my life that Eric Lagalo would become a chief propagandist and put insinuations, innuendos, and put information out there to our audience that is incorrect. I am really concerned because you know, this country, because of the high cost of living,
yes,
you know, people are suffering all manner of ills, and I would want to imagine that Eric Lagalo is not suffering from some psychological misfortunes, and therefore that is a lot of propaganda. You know, what happens is, what essentially has been discussed in Parliament is what will be taken to the President and be assented.
Yes.
So if there are things that have been sneaked in, legally they cannot be implemented in terms of law, assuming in the you know, assuming that we are very crafty people and we sneak in things at midnight or whatever.
Yes.
So they wouldn't really hold water in terms of the law. Now, coming to EPRA, I am equally as disturbed as every other Kenyan out there is concerning this issue of EPRA. And the reason is because this is the only point I might agree with Ragalo, is because I feel it is mischievous. You know, like Nicodemus, during the day you're saying this,
yes,
and then during the night you are sneaking to do other things. I think that's totally wrong. and I feel that is not the direction that we should be taking as a country. Of course, when you in my own reasoning, I think part of the reason why EPRA was very quick to rush into this, you remember there was a bit of time gap between when the conservatory orders came out. You remember 2 days before, EPRA had issued a notice
that they are going to review
the prices.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
This was based on the assenting of the finance bill to become an act.
Yes.
Okay. But you remember, even when the media was reporting the conservatory orders, it was way much later in the evening.
But they could have stopped.
Okay. No.
Yes.
Just be patient.
Yes.
Just be patient.
Yes.
I'm just playing the devil's advocate.
Okay.
I'm just playing the devil's because I don't work in EPRA.
Okay.
I don't know what might have transpired. So I'm assuming they took advantage. You know, also, you must realize as government you need the money. You know it. Because the liquidity is tight. Government needs money. So I am sure part of the easiest, fuel is the easiest place you can collect taxes. It's one of the easiest, because as much as the economy is performing, so long as the roads are open, you will always collect taxes from fuel.
Consumption tax.
So long as people are, you will always collect VAT. And I assume, therefore, that this was government's, because if you look at the housing tax, it may take some time before that kicks in, because it's relying on your payslip. But if it is effective midnight that year, VAT on fuel, we begin collecting it at 12:01. Immediately it's 11:59. Immediately we start collecting that VAT, and so that is income to the government. Therefore, I am persuaded that the reason why EPRA had to rush was because it was easier to collect the taxes. Now, as to whether they will rescind that decision or otherwise, is what Ragalo is saying. There needs to be a Kenyan of goodwill, or even ourselves, or even media houses, that we need to go to court and say, look, this is not right, and we need to set it right.
Pretty much. Mr. Mungai, just hold your thought there, because even as you say that, then there's a question again that you're not answering, all right? That we do know very well that the president was quite aware where this process was essentially going to go. That we've seen before, in the previous regime, where Uhuru Kenyatta essentially didn't like a bill, he didn't sign it, all right? But just let it sit on his desk, but we don't know exactly what happens. It just becomes law after 2 weeks. He had that route. He essentially was going to communicate his true feelings around, or his knowledge around what essentially was going on.
Actually, a point of correction.
Yes.
Uhuru did not sit on the bill.
Yeah.
What he did is he offered recommendation and sent it to the House, and the House was unable to raise 2/3.
That's it. But after that, he actually first did sit on it.
It becomes a law automatically after 2 weeks.
After 2 weeks,
it just becomes
a law.
So Ruto would have left this one to become law automatically, rather than signing it?
That's it. That's the question that we're asking. And by the way, we're going to get those answers from Regalo and Mr. Mungai right here on The Morning Brief once we come back from this break. Because then, if indeed they were aware that the courts were going to make their own zoning, could have they waited? All right? So that now they appeal to the rest of the Kenyans that indeed you've gone to court, you've listened to it. Now we have a green light from all fronts once we come back right here on The Morning Drift.
Infinity Industrial Park is one of the largest private industrial parks located along Eastern Bypass, Nairobi, which provides modern infrastructure for smooth operations for industries and business enterprises. Infinity Industrial Park offers world-class amenities and facilities with wide roads, a police station, a power substation, fire station, public transport stage, hospital, and shopping mall. In addition, Infinity Industrial Park also offers CCTV cameras, 24-hour private armed security patrol, sewer, water, fiber optic cable, and 3-phase power connection. Added to public utility, canteen, and dining areas. Sail on the golden opportunity to invest in Infinity Industrial Park, fully serviced warehouses at a special price of 3,569 Kenyan shillings per square foot. For more inquiries, visit our website infinityindustrialpark.com.
On this particular episode, we are joined by one Alfred Mado.
I currently serve both the Old Mutual and the Absa Life. I consult for the True and I do business with them, and they have taken me as a lead consultant.
What is your definition of a successful business?
A successful business is a business that lives beyond time. If you're making 100,000 shillings, assuming that is the net income, that is after tax, 22% of that net income should go into savings and investment.
Pretty much.
Yes.
All right, let's chat the last part of this conversation this morning with Eric Wagalo, and Eric Mungai as we look at exactly where we are in this conversation. Just put one on break. Mungai was trying to answer the question of why he had to sign it, you know, just what? 2 days after it was passed in Parliament. Did he have to? Knowing very well that it was going to go to court.
If I were Ruto, I would sign it. Because my government wants money, and immediate money. By the time you guys go to court,
I've already started
collecting money. So my argument will be, returning the wheel back is going to hurt the government, because already the government has started functioning in a different way.
Does it?
You understand? It's the way they argue in IEBC. You've already announced a president. You cannot nullify unless we go to another election. That's why it's very hard for the court to nullify a what? A presidential election in the world, not only in Kenya, in the world. And that's why when it happened in Kenya, Kenya was one of the 3-4 that has ever done it in the whole world for many years.
That's true.
Okay? It became one of the record players in the world. It will be like the government has already started setting. You know, when you announce immediately the president, even the army and all the other things start focusing another route. And now your president, who is outgoing, become an outgoing. So when you kill the election results and bring a new one, you destabilize so much. So that is what courts usually avoid a lot. So this is going to be another precedence in court. If I were Ruto, I would sign so that my government just start working. So that will find it very hard to rescind some things as a court, because already some wheels have started working. So the court is not about the law, it's about also the precedences and how what you'll do will affect. That's why, remember that time, the court asked a question. This guy has impregnated a 15-year-old kid. And he's been supporting this kid, and he's 17 years. You remember that case?
Yeah, I remember that story.
If I take him in, what will happen to these two? So should I take him in to suffer the consequences of what is done? Then these other two, the baby and the mother, also suffer
the consequences of him being inside.
Yes. So what do I do as a court? You remember that judge
I remember that story.
being asked that question?
It's a big story.
So it takes the judgment of wisdom to make such judgments. So also here, what Ruto did, alikunja miguu ya koti. Sasa koti jitoe hapo. They will hurt the economy of Kenya should they rescind some things.
And the court is also relying on the same finance act.
Yes.
So now to receive the allocation.
That's what I'm saying. Nafanya hivi wamekunja koti.
Pretty much.
So now the other thing is, what was added My friend will say I'm a propagandist.
Chief.
Some of the chief. Some EPZ economic, special economic zones, EPZ alcohol. What? Yeah. Some of these things were added as they went for ascension.
That's them.
Some of these were added, and it's not a propaganda. They were added. So it went as a document. So to me, it's a doctored document, which didn't go through the rule of law to present it as an act. Because if you add something, umeteneza pombe. Ile pombe ukipelekea customer umeongeza maji. What have you done? Sio pombe inamwagwa yote basi. Because you can now not extract water from pombe. Unless you start now fractional distillation again of liquid alcohol to get it back. Unless. So now the issue is, as it went as a doctored document, will the court bring it back as a doctored document to restart? And if we are to restart, how long does it take to create another bill that runs a government? It may take 3-4 months just to write another one, nini, and nini. Then public participation, so it will take us another half an year. The government should run? Yes. Another. So at the end of the day, these things will work. And is it really proper to fix things for a session that has not been discussed? It's very improper. That's why I said, meek, be disciplined, do the things by the law. That's why I was saying, you are a straight man. You are a straight man, Gachagua. You are Deputy Jesus here. People who believe in the Bible like nini. Meaning unaomba mpaka uwezi kosea hata mende. So now, why do you kosea humans?
Very much. Mr. Mungai, let's start this response in two parts here. And that's essentially what's going to be the last part of our discussion this morning. There's a coalition now. On the 7th, they're telling us that they have the way to go now. They're going to bring in the Saba demonstrations. Do remember there were historic demonstrations in the country, essentially pulling for democracy in the way that parties were essentially viewed by the government in this country. Good.
But to remind him, there was Saba, Nane, Tisa, Kumi.
That's it. Do you think that it is way gone now for the Azimio coalition to essentially push the government to rethink the Finance Act 2023? Is it done and dusted?
I wish, when I think about Azimio and Saba, sometimes I wish there is a better way of defining hot air. I wish there was so that you know, on this show we don't keep on repeating the same words, because then they appear like they are cliche. But I have nostalgic memories of Saba. Having grown up in Kangemi, I would witness as people went to the roads to agitate for reforms. I mean, for me, as I saw things unfold, for me, when you saw the forming of a democracy at such a young age, I was always fascinated by how people used to do things. And I was lucky enough, you know, one of my sons, their birthday is on Saba. And you know, sometimes when ukitaka kuhepa kitu unasema unajua baba amesema hii siku, so but that's neither here nor there. But what in my own opinion, I think Azimio need a better strategy. We cannot even when you, like, let me give an example. You know, some long time ago when you wanted, my brother Lagalo said something about Mende. When you wanted to kill cockroaches, we used to have different, were they drugs or what, the pesticides or whatever, to kill cockroaches. Now, over time, the cockroaches become hardy. Despite what you do to them with that nini, they cannot die. Therefore, scientists have to continually keep innovating. Ndio kinunua dawa ya mende inaweza ku-exterminate mende. And that happens in that field. Even rats, when I was growing up, the biggest rat poison ilikuwa inaitwa rat. Ilikuwa na with the time panya haitaki kukula hiyo, pia hiyo imeomoka, inahitaji kitu yenye is much better and is well advanced. And I'm bringing these analogies to show that Azimio really, they can't be stuck in a time warp. They are the only guys who survive in a black hole. They swallow everything end to end. I think Azimio need to up their game. That Sabasaba thing, it's a good declaration, and it's a good thing nowadays they are sending, you know, Mother Karua to go and declare there will be Sabasaba, there will be maandamano. I think it's time Azimio got a better strategy. I'm not saying what they are doing is wrong. I am only advising them that it is good to change with times. There are better ways to agitate now. Those, you know, most of the people they are relying on to go to Sabasaba have no recollection or knowledge. They have no sentimental connection with Sabasaba. In fact, even people of my age now, if you ask them about Sabasaba, it's only that I have an interest in politics. Since I was young, I am able to recall some of these events. But people of my generation, they can no longer connect. And you remember